Everyone, thank you guys for joining us again for a Cool Times podcast, where we talk all things cool about the cold storage construction industry. Joining me today to my right, every single podcast of mine, my lovely wife, business partner, soulmate, lady with no voice because she's getting over a cold. The
It's
lovely
not cold. I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either.
You gotta love this,
Miss Jenna Free. I am also one of your hosts, Vince Free, and joining us today is a good friend of ours, Cory Singer from FCL Builders. He is Vice President of Business Development and pre-construction policies. Cory was very clear now. You're not pricing things because you'd win a lot of jobs, right, Cory, if you were pricing things?
They don't let me touch a pencil.
Well, Cory, my friend, welcome to the podcast, my friend. How are you?
Well, thank you. Good to see you both. Thanks for having me on today. Really appreciate it. It's good to see you two recently. Jenna, I have to say, I heard your voice and it kind of made me think of Roz from Roz from what was the show? Frasier. And yeah, especially considering the kind of the radio setting you have.
That's exactly how I feel today.
I love it.
I hope you get feeling better.
It's a very sexy voice. I'm not gonna lie. I like it.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Oh, should I get off this?
We're good, man. This is PG-13, my friend. It's PG-13. So
this episode's PG-13, but the other ones
the
are
rest
not.
is not safe for work. Exactly. FCL Builders has very strict policies. Okay, trying to maintain and stay within the guidelines. So, Cory, sorry, we're rambling, my friend. Thank you for joining us, man. And yes, it was awesome seeing you recently at the NAIOP, the Icon Cold Storage. We're going to get into that. So we don't have to get into that now. But for now, I want most of our audience knows Cory Singer, especially after this last conference. Again, we'll talk about that later, but you were a big part of that. I'm excited to kind of pump your tires about that because you did a great job with that, by the way. And,
thank you very much.
But as far as Cory Singer is concerned, tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us about yourself, how you got in the industry, how you joined FCL.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you, I think a lot of people get into a career or find a company through all sorts of odd ways, and sometimes that's just life, right? I mean, you're both trying to direct your journey and you're kind of a participant in it at the same time as you kind of, I'm sorry, not just a participant, but kind of an observer of your own story. I had been involved in the construction and design industry in the Chicago area for a number of years, and both working for either a contractor or some designers. I was on my own for a number of years doing business development consulting, and FCL was a client of mine.
Wow.
And that alone was an interesting story, just kind of by happenstance, meeting a number of people that helped arrange a meeting, and before you know it, we're working together. And so they were a customer of mine for a number of years, 2.5 years. And then it became pretty clear that the amount of work we had to do was growing. There was a whole lot that we wanted to accomplish. I had grown from appreciating them as a customer to really loving the company and wanting to be part of it formally. I think that we really had just hit it off interpersonally, and we were succeeding in what we were trying to do. So we came to an agreement, and I joined full time about 11 years ago. And since then, it's been an amazing story, an incredible ride, just from originally an office only in the Midwest, based in the Chicago area, to where we are today, all around the country.
Wow. And
really a blessed group. Our story is just it's just not normal in our industry, and we're very thankful for it. We really are.
Yeah, you guys had a wild growth and entrance into cold storage. And man, I've been doing business with FCL for a pretty long time. And that was when, man, Carmen Dordado, am I pronouncing Carmen's last name right?
Dodaro, but
Dodaro. Yeah. Sure. And he's now retired and probably on an island in Hawaii, but you guys got him back and forth. You guys are getting him for some consulting work still, right? He's still involved-ish?
Yeah, he is. Carmen is our lead director on the board. He's still very involved. And as a former CEO, he's just one phone call away for a number of people too.
Yeah. Well, you've guys done a phenomenal job building your brand and building the company and getting your names out there. And as far as cold storage construction is concerned, this is a cold storage podcast, but I want to talk a lot of industrial with you as well. kind of talk about managing growth of that sector, that business. You made a comment. We had a pre-call, you and I, Cory, the other day, and he, he mentions, hey, it's an artificially created capital problem. And I kind of started thinking about that. I'm like, man, what does that mean? Should I be scared? Is there a problem? Do we have a recession in the future here for our business as far as cold storage, or is it more dry? I guess give us your outlook and all that.
All right, so you want to jump into the market? Okay,
We can, yeah,
sure. Hey, by the way, can I take a quick tangent? All right,
Yeah,
of course.
Because for all those that are listening that may not know, I mean, Vince and Jenna, everyone in the industry knows you too. That's clear. But some may not know Vince prior to Freeze. And I just got to say, for as cool as FCL's story is, I'll never forget meeting you with your previous employer in California, and us going to dinner, and you kind of opening up one night about this desire to start your own business, and the guts it took to leave a solid job, to go out on your own, just to step out by yourself and to pull that off. And I can only imagine all the stuff that went on in the background with you two to first make the commitment, then realize, oh wow, we're really doing this. And then to see where things are today in just a few years. It's an amazing success story. It's inspiring. And I think that, I hope our whole industry sees this. It is, it's one of the coolest stories I've seen in our industry in a long time.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate that.
Well, it's true. It's just true.
Yeah, it was obviously extremely stressful, and definitely wavered back and forth on whether or not that was going to happen or be a thing. And I mean, gosh, we are still waiting for the future podcast with Dean Saul, where I hope we don't talk about any of that stuff. Because honestly, he was a mentor of mine at my previous company and still is a mentor of mine today.
Will always be.
And, I think a lot of his vision and the way he did business and carried himself with his business and company, I admired that. And oftentimes I try to emulate that. But, when things change, man, right? You sell a company, you move on, you move away, and all of a sudden maybe a vibe changes, and your heart starts to be in a different spot, and you're not sure what you want anymore because those circumstances change. So, that's what kind of led us to, doing what we did. And, they're still a great company, our past employers, and I love them, man. I love all their people, and they're fantastic. And, I want them to know that our decision to do this had nothing to do with them as far as, being a certain company or a certain way or certain personalities or people. They're all fantastic, so I've always had this entrepreneurship in my blood.
Before you even worked in that company, you've always had an entrepreneurial spirit.
Absolutely.
I mean, before you were even in cold storage.
Totally.
You had that spirit, and that's not something that dies easily in someone. So
so true.
You have to explore it.
I mean, Cory, what you don't know is, when I was going through, college, and, I started my own residential painting company to pay for college,
No,
so
I didn't know that.
I was knocking, successful one too.
I was knocking on doors, and, I learned the trade of painting through a program, and, I just started knocking on doors and providing bids to paint houses. And man, I was painting 45 to 55 homes a summer, 3 months.
Wow. Holy cow.
Summer. Yeah. So managing people, a crew of 3, and that's really,
I even painted garage doors with him.
You darn right you did. So
that's so cool.
It's just, I didn't come from a situation where my parents could afford college, so I really needed to just kind of figure that all out on my own, and that's what I did.
Great job, babe.
And that's what kind of sparked, that inside of me. But that's neither here or there. We're here to talk about you, sir. So let's talk Cory Singer. Well, I appreciate that, man.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
And you guys are still great partners of ours, and you guys are, FCL Builders is, you guys helped us. You helped Freeze Construction grow.
Absolutely.
And you guys are great to work with, and you have great people in the field and partnerships and understanding, and you guys are fair. And that's all a subcontractor can ask for a general contractor, is to be fair, right? have open ideas. Hey, how do you do this detail? All right, you have this going on in the ceiling. What do we do with that? And it's really a two-way conversation, instead of saying, here are the details and shove them down your throat. And by the way, now you get to warranty this because, you're putting it together, but it's our detail, which I never understood, right? How do you make a subcontractor warranty something that is not theirs, their detail?
Very fair.
But anyways, that's for a whole nother podcast. We just created two more podcasts in this short little stint here. This is great.
We already have a sequel.
There you go. Yeah. But anyways,
two-parter.
It is. And I've had conversations with you, gosh, at the bar at Icon, and you're just the market, right? And you led a panel at Icon, and you talked about the market and, all these developers coming in and money people coming in and building these spec buildings. Cold is hot right now, right? What's dry looking like right now? Because that slows down before cold. I mean, what's our 5-year forecast?
Okay, well, who knows, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. As a professional economist, of course,
That's not on your resume.
Yes, right. I have a lot of studied opinions, but I don't do anything differently than someone else does in the market, except just really dive in and try to listen, understand what you're hearing, how to look for common threads, what to do with them when you hear them. And for that matter, really try to surround ourselves with people in the business who have at least potentially a little corner on the truth, if anything, just from their past experiences. So I think we got to focus on what's encouraging versus what's concerning. If you look at our industry, and Vince, you mentioned the dry side, is the warehousing side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you look at that, in 2022, the nation, as an industry, we produced around 600 million square feet of warehousing or dry e-commerce product. That's a whole, that's a whole lot of concrete boxes. And that is about twice what the previous record was in the industry if you go back to 2016 or so, maybe 17, depending on how you want to count it. So we have this enormous growth in the business. And still through all of that, we don't have over, on an average across the United States, across all markets, we don't have over a 5 or 5.5% vacancy rate. So here's what didn't happen. Unlike in the past, the commercial real estate industry didn't overbuild. We didn't overdevelop. We didn't build ahead of demand. The demand is still enormous.
Okay.
So that's really encouraging. So when you look ahead, the way, all the things that are driving demand today, from a huge shifting population from north to south, the widening of the Panama Canal, which has played a role, not the only part of it, but it's played a role in changing the way our logistics chain moves around the United States. Even kind of a shift from railroads, from always west to east or east to west, to now as much north and south.
Yeah.
All of the capital investments being done in ports from Florida north all the way through the New England area, and then the inland port investment being done. All of this has just shifted everything, that the way goods are moved around the country. And then, of course, a massive demand for the ways that we distribute stuff through e-commerce. So all of this is created a massive demand for concrete rectangles, and we all support that. That's a good thing. We just have a capital compression problem right now. You have, all sorts of different opinions on what may have caused it.
What does that mean?
Well, you have a huge problem today getting debt and equity on a deal, at least in some cases. In fact, it was pointed out on the panel at Icon Cold, at least for cold storage. Sometimes it's even easier on the debt side than the equity, which is interesting. That's kind of an inversion of how it should work. But it's a function of interest rates that are over twice what they were about a year ago. You have a number of commercial banks that have really extended themselves on a number of commercial loans, in particular, some office product and some retail product that's lost value. So you throw all that up kind of in a bucket and mix it up, and it's just really hard for those institutional lenders to come up with any capital today. That's going to impact the market, clearly. There's just going to be less capital, and a pretty fair amount of it, that isn't available for a while. The question is, how long's that last? And then over time, how relevant is it really too? Because if you have the demand, it's still America. People are still going to find a way to meet demand and produce. There's a lot of private funds that continue out there and lots of other capital sources. But for a period of time, it's going to be harder to, to write a deal than it's been in the past.
Wow. I didn't think of that. And so these companies that aren't backed by, some of the big money people that we all met at Icon, let's say ABC Foods is building a $30 million expansion. Those are the types of companies that are either, are they paying cash for that, or they're finding a way to leverage their debt to income ratio somehow with the banks and finance this project?
Well, I think the quick answer is yes. They're going to have to put more cash in than they would have done years ago. It wasn't that long ago. You could have somebody put 5% or less into a deal and come up with the rest of it either through debt and equity.
Wow.
That ship sailed for a while. Number of institutional lenders are looking at 50% plus now.
Wow.
No
so way.
That changes the world. So
that does.
So what you're missing is the equity side. So then who else out there is providing the equity and who else provides the debt? That's going to be a challenge that the whole industry has to work through over the next couple of years, or however long this takes to kind of settle this out. Who knows? But, you hear some folks talk about it's going to be a year, maybe it's 2 years. But here's what we know it isn't. It's not 08, 9, and 10. It's not the problems we had in the 80s. It's none of that kind of institutional stuff where the real estate industry or commercial real estate broke itself by either overbuilding or creating funding mechanisms that just weren't sound. Instead, you have a significant problem largely created by too much lending at a federal level, and now you have interest rates that are going through the roof, and that just has to settle down before people can know, in a sense, what the rules of the game are going to be. What is this going to cost me to do it? From the time I get a piece of property under control and I go through a due diligence process and I make commitments on spending, to the time that I get my finances done, how much did interest rates go up in that period of time? And if they're going to fluctuate by 100 basis points or 150, and all of that occurred during the time you're trying to write a deal, well, that's in the not good category, right?
That's not good.
So,
yeah.
Right. Yeah. So people are just looking for stability and trying to understand what it's going to cost. And then, of course, all the other stuff that has to shake out. Price of land, lease rates, where are those going to stabilize? Are they going to continue to go up?
Sure.
The encouraging part is the demand is there. So unlike problems in the past where we didn't have demand because there was over construction, over development, we're not in that situation today.
Yeah, but you bring up, let's say you and I are trying to write a deal, Cory, and I start freeze cold storage warehousing because I want to make a warehouse, and I hire Cory, and Cory, you and I are working out a deal, and we're in design, and it's September 19th, 2023. Man, this deal we might not ink this deal until April of next year, right? If interest rate goes from 6% to 9%, that could be a big deal, right?
Well, that kills it. Sure.
Yeah. Well, that could kill a deal. Same with, think about it with what Jen and I dealt with during the pandemic and material costs, right? So let's say we're trying to get this deal set up. We have all these budget numbers. Well, what happens if we have another freeze in Texas where the chemical plant breaks down and now all these panel suppliers can't, meet demand, and they're on allocation for chemical and their prices hike again and double in price. And, we've seen the price of insulated metal panel double in 3 years, right? If that happens again and you're buying 500,000 square feet of panel, that's a big number.
That's
right?
a huge number.
So as a general contractor, Cory, when you're helping put these deals together and working with your team, how do you manage that piece where, how do you manage the budget pricing from suppliers, vendors, subcontractors from trying to ink a deal to closing a deal? How do you maintain, obviously that price, right?
Well, first of all, there's just isn't a way, and this is more speaking historically, right? Because things have kind of leveled out now.
They have.
Yes.
Yes.
We don't have as much instability there as we
Mhm.
did in the previous year,
Yeah.
when it was just nuts. So there was never a way to mitigate all the instability, but there were things you could do to make it better and start creating the right expectations for a customer. First, always starts off with transparent and completely open communication about process,
Yep.
setting the right expectations about timing and when we have to make decisions, having open, honest conversations about what kind of contingencies should be set aside. We would often open book a deal for a customer so they could see in real time exactly what those numbers are.
Mhm.
And then a really strong and honest rapport with suppliers and subcontractors
Mhm.
so that we could at least get the truth to a customer as fast as anybody else in the industry and then go with that at that moment. We had as many challenges as anybody else did with it, but one way that we overcame it were those things I mentioned a second ago here about
Yep.
here's this honesty, here's openness, transparency with information. And then we were fortunate enough to have some strong relationships with some suppliers and subs where if we could press the pause button for 30 days or a few weeks longer than someone else could, we were in that small group of builders that could do that.
Wow.
And sometimes that was just enough to give someone that time to get to an investment committee, to get to a board, make the decision, secure their funds, and move on from there.
Absolutely. We talked about your involvement in Icon Cold, NAIOP, big real estate development conference. And, they had a lot of, I know you were involved in that, but they also had a lot of, I guess, requests throughout the years to, hey, cold storage, cold storage, cold storage. And then you called me up one day and you said, hey, Vince, I got this thing going on with NAIOP and we're trying to build a little cold storage conference, really short and sweet cold storage conference for real estate development and how those deals are done and inked and yada, yada, yada. And then I said, Cory, what's a NAIOP?
Right. I know.
I didn't know what that was, because I was never on that side. Right. And you helped develop this new conference and you were the leading horse in this thing. I mean, you were chairman of the board and you handpicked the team and you helped create this, what I thought was a phenomenal show. And
it's funny that you call it little, coming back from it now.
No, it was not small. It was like record numbers. You had 450 people and you had we had to turn people away. It was incredible. And so tell us, number one, what exactly is Icon Cold Storage
for our
listeners, and what was your involvement in getting this thing to happen?
Why?
All right. Well, first of all, and why? Well, okay. Well, thank you for that. Gosh, that's awful nice of you. Icon means industrial conference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So NAIOP, formerly the National Association of Industrial Office Properties, just shortened it to an acronym years ago.
Yep.
And clearly the leading professional association for commercial real estate in the country.
Sure.
That's hard to dispute. However, their involvement on the cold storage side has been pretty minimal over the last few years. And it was really just more targeted to a cold storage presentation or segment at one of their national industrial conferences. So I appreciate you. Would you call me the chairman or the
man? You're the godfather of this show,
godfather.
Man.
Wow,
that's what I'm calling you, man.
Wow, the godfather. Okay, well, it was all legal. Okay, and nobody was nobody was injured in the process. No knees were broken. All right, but I and some other folks had been talking to them consistently about this segment of industrial real estate is not only growing, but it's going to take off at a huge rate. And that NAIOP is poised and positioned to really help deliver the right or one of the right ways for this group to meet around the country. And of course, there's several others. Your role at SEBA is very impressive and what you do there. on the builder and subcontractor side. That's a huge, important part of the way our industry communicates to each other. IARW, long, institutional, fantastic group, do a lot to help the organizations get together to help the industry meet and communicate. But there's always room for more, especially in our industry, because if someone's going to throw a party, people will show up.
That's true.
We do like to
That's
party.
True.
That is true. And there's a significant amount of interest among a lot of growing capital sources and developers and others in the industry to participate. So that was the basis of it. When we started the concept of expanding NAIOP's ICON industrial conference label or their product from just two traditionally dry or e-commerce conferences annually to the cold storage one, it was just simply that, is that there's a lot of good groups that get the organizations together every year, that get the industry together every year. Here's another group that can also do it. This one was focused around the capital and development side, and it turned out pretty well. I think for an inaugural conference to have nearly 500 people, and as you said, have to turn away 100 of them, that's not normal. But it speaks to the industry, right? So what it actually doesn't as much NAIOP, it speaks to what the industry, where the industry's moving, where the industry's going, and the need for all of these groups to learn from each other and to be able to work together. Then you couple that with a group like NAIOP, who puts together a fantastic event. They have a big name in the industry. Their team, I mean, really hats off to all of them. The staff at NAIOP, from the time we started talking about this to them delivering a conference, was about 13 months.
Yeah, it was quick.
It's huge. I mean, that is an enormous amount of work, great success on their part. It really speaks to their professionalism. And I got to tell you, in all those calls with all the staff over the course of a year, they were always cool and calm. They belong on cool times. They were always cool and calm.
Darn
and
right.
collected.
They were on.
They know exactly what they were doing. I mean, true pros at what they do. It was a real pleasure to work with.
That's awesome. So you ran a panel on stage, and that one was incredible. You had 4 of the sharpest guys on stage that are money people building cold storage warehouses. And do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, sure. Yeah, we had a neat group, so this was a combination again of the right people coming together for the right reasons. We had an enormous amount of support again from NAIOP on the backside to help organize all these people, their name involved in it. And then also, you have, again, an industry that's always happy to meet. But we had Josh Lewis, Marlo Cold. Right.
Who's going to be on our show?
Oh, good. All right.
Is.
Fantastic.
Yeah. You'll hear from him later in the year.
Well, super. I'll tune in. Yeah. Jeff Mano from Flex Cold. Anthony Rinaldi, founder and president of Saxon. And then you had Kevin Rivest. And they were fantastic. I mean, that's a group that really didn't need any prep. You could just kind of sit them up there and say, okay, what do you think of cold? And that's about all you needed to do. But it really helps a discussion when they're pros. They know what they've been in the industry for so long, and they just know the material cold.
100% they do. Absolutely. So, recap the show for those that could not attend.
Those on the wait list.
Those on the wait list. I'm assuming there's going to be another one next year.
Yes.
Destination TBD, Dallas or Atlanta?
We're working on the destination, but I think it's going to settle between Dallas and Atlanta. It makes
2 big hubs.
Sense. Yeah.
Yep. 2 big hubs.
Yeah. I mean, that's not an announcement.
It's not an announcement.
It's not mine to announce. That's NAIOP's to announce.
It's not mine. It's not an announcement that Cool Times is making.
No.
Not at all.
If I had to guess, it's going to be one of those two.
Yeah. Well, let me interrupt this broadcast too to thank our sponsors, Cory, for this entire podcast, and it's our friends at Jamison Door Company. You know, every year they sponsor this in order for us to create the production we create and edit the way we edit to make us sound good, make all of us look good. You know, the sponsorships are huge and partnerships are awesome. They make a phenomenal cold storage door product. They have high-speed doors now. They have air door technologies. So Jamison Door Company, thank you guys so much for being a part of the Cool Times podcast.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate you guys. So talking all things cool and cold, Cory, do you have a cool moment in the industry that, you know, and this could be anything, man. It could be your entrance into FCL. It could be a job you landed. It could be anything, any cool moment whatsoever. Do you have one you can share?
I got a couple.
I love it. Share them all.
I think one of them isn't necessarily a moment. It's sometimes it's those moments you have every day where you realize just how close everyone is connected in our industry. You realize that it's just amazing. I mean, the connectivity around the United States is just extraordinary. So before you know it, you realize that there's relationships, there's deals that get done from multiple people all around the United States that in short order you met. I think it just speaks to kind of a nationwide large Mayberry. So no matter how big the business gets, it all boils down to human beings and these connections that don't have boundaries, that relationships between California or Texas or Georgia or New York could all blend together in a course of hours. And I think that is not actually one memory or one moment. It's kind of an everyday thing, but it never ceases to amaze me how small it all really is.
So true.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Well, I have a cool moment of you and I of literally, you know, at dinner one time, we're ordering dinner and drinks, and we're all ordering these fancy like old fashions and cool drinks. And man, my boy C over here is like, Miller Lite, please. And we all just kind of look at him like, all right, we all got something really cool. And my boy is just like, Miller Lite, please. You're my Miller Lite guy, man.
Well, you know, I catch some grief from anybody that, you know, we go out to have drinks with that that I don't know how to order a cocktail, that, you know, I can't, you know, emerge beyond, you know, a boring American beer. I happen to think that, you know, Miller Lite, you know, the best beer in America.
Hey man, we're from Milwaukee. I feel you.
It's a microbrew, really.
We know, man.
It's a specialty brew.
It is. That's why Coors Light had to buy him, right?
I remember that dinner. I remember where we were in California, and I remember Carmen making fun of me about that also. And you poking fun of me. Here's what else I remember about that night. I remember you said, "I'll get an Uber." Okay. And Carmen and I at the time, we didn't, this is years ago. We didn't know what Uber was. We looked at each other like, what's he doing? And basically a skateboard pulled up on wheels, and we hopped in the back of this thing. It was the smallest car I'd ever seen. And we poked fun at you the entire way back that
I was on a budget.
3 grown men sitting basically on a tricycle
in a Prius.
Yeah. I don't think it was that big. Yeah.
I do remember that. I try to forget those moments.
It was
my best. That's not my best moment, but actually that was pretty funny. We were jam packed.
It was, well, we got to know each other in the back seat.
3 big dudes just snuggling up in the back seat. No big deal.
It was special.
Cozy. Dude, that was a funny story, and thank you for reminding me of that embarrassing moment. And I now know to always with customers to get the black XL SUV. So, you know, I got you now. Next time we Uber, I'm going to get you the black XL.
Well, how about what's more embarrassing? I didn't even know what Uber was.
Hey, man,
you had a corner on me there.
I barely know what TikTok is, man. I mean, that's like, I stay away from that, man. Someone told me the Chinese government runs that, and that's scared me away from TikTok. So I don't touch it, you know?
I think they taste great. You know, I like the spearmint ones the best.
Yeah, there you go. See, now you're speaking my language.
Right.
There you go. Dude, I didn't get to talk to you enough about FCL because You deserve this platform to sell not only yourself, which obviously is come naturally during this broadcast, but FCL Builders. I ask every one of my guests this question, and I got to ask you, why buy from FCL Builders?
It's just a very different emphasis on people. There are check boxes that have to get marked as far as capabilities and performance, your past history, right? Your place in the industry, but there's a lot of people who could do that.
Yeah.
We've built hundreds of millions of square feet of industrial space, and we have offices around the country in all sorts of past performance. And that's important because you have to be able to still deliver the core product. But there's a lot of good contractors who have that. Where we really strive is to set ourselves apart by the humans who are there. That this group of people is just going to dive deeper. They're going to care more about what they're doing. They're going to work harder to cover every detail, to be communicative, to be transparent, to give of themselves more in that project. And we teach this from top up to bottom down. That
this is not only how you treat the customers, but this is like internally, your team is people that are literally fantastic. I did a home chef project with you guys in Baltimore recently, and your site superintendent or project manager, Omar. Do you know Omar well? Omar,
yeah.
But Omar, what a fantastic human. Like, he was one of the most delightful people to work with ever. Like, he was always on top of stuff, super buried, would tell you he's buried, would hide the fact that he's buried based on his level of communication. He was always just on point. So, but super fair. Yeah, I can tell. People is a big deal to you guys.
Well, it is. And, I joke about this, that maybe it sounds a little cheesy, but we call it the FCL experience. That you ought to be able to build a building on time. You should be able to do it according to your budget. Of course, you should do it safely. That isn't how you should be measured. You should be measured that if you're a professional service provider, those things happen naturally. But at the end of the project, that your experience was as good as the product was. That you felt like we cared more than someone else did about it. That we just dove in deeper on those details. And most importantly, came to the project from the very beginning till it's done with an understanding that we get it, that you need this building to affect a promise that you made to your customer or your board of directors or your investment committee or your own team in your company or your family, your spouse. That, I'm going on a limb here. We're going to borrow these monies. We're going to make promises to investors. I'm making a promise to a customer. And then it's handed to a general contractor to affect all those promises that were made.
Yep.
And so the building has to be done right. But when we're done, we want you to get through it and say, those guys were just different.
Yeah.
That my experience was also good.
Yep.
And I want to work with them again. They respected me. They talked to me. They were open. They did what they said they were going to do. I mean, this should be pretty fundamental stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it is. It's
right.
And it's funny. It's all about experience, man. And anything you do in life, you do it for the experience, man. The ride, right? I mean, it's, screw the destination at times, man. It's that journey. It's that experience to get you there, which is the fun part. And people often overlook that. So yeah, you know what, Cory, you delivered a badass building and the customer loves you for that. But how you got there, that journey, that experience, that's the stuff that they're going to remember and use you again, hire you on the next one. Much like I emulate the same thing with Freeze Construction. I look at us as not only value add, but hire and freeze is an experience. And it is going to not only be first class, it's going to be fun. And working with us is we want to show the GC, listen, we're an extension of your company, right? You're not only hiring us, we are now partners and we are going to keep each other out of trouble. And I'm going to do my damnedest to keep you out of trouble and make sure we don't do things on that building that you promised your customer, you promised those investors something we're going to make sure that, not only do you hold that promise, but we're going to give them something that they deserve and is going to work and they like and they love and is proven detail and, fit and finish, all the above. Right. So, man, it's a journey, bro.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. Caring about what you do really shouldn't be groundbreaking in our industry.
Yep.
Yeah, there's always problems. There's always unforeseen things. You have a lot of challenges. I mean, we're far from perfect, but what we push through the company is that we're going to fix problems, own problems, communicate to customers fast and clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to approach it every project first from the concept that this human being, the human behind this deal, this isn't a job number.
Mm-hmm.
The human behind this is relying on us to make their promises happen.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at it that way versus a job number, it's a very, very different way of respecting the human behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, my friend, I want to be cognizant of your time as we are winding down here. Is there anything that you want to share with maybe someone new that's entered the industry or is 1 year in after college, working for a GC, working for a sub, working for a supplier vendor, selling a product in our space that we do? What advice would you give someone right now?
Oh, I love it. All right. So thank you. And by the way, for anyone listening, no, that wasn't in the pre-call. So
I do like to shoot some blind darts here and surprise you a little bit.
That's a softball over the plate. Okay. I'm thrilled you asked it.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. So it's focus on people. Yes, you have to know your stuff. Okay. So if you're a superintendent, yes, you have to understand intimately every aspect from site construction, through your final closeouts on how you're going to deliver that building. And then the same as elements from a project management perspective. Of course, you have to know your stuff. But if you want to separate yourself in this business, focus on getting to know people as people, focus on building a real rapport with them, allowing yourself to step out there, commit the time to develop a rapport with people and communicate. Learn those skills. If you don't know them now, if it isn't something that comes naturally, understand that and then make the commitment to get better at it. Because if you really want to excel in this business, you absolutely have to know the fundamentals of what you do from a technical side, clearly. But what's going to separate you is your ability to communicate with people and to appeal to them as humans.
Bam, dude. I got you, man. Yeah.
Yeah. How'd I do? Did I
dude,
get an
you
A
killed
for
it,
that
man.
one?
I gave you the applause on that one, man. No, dude, you murdered it. And sometimes that comes natural to people, and sometimes people need to learn that, right? So that's great advice and 100% agree, my friend. Well done. I like that.
Yeah. Well, look, Vince, look at what you've done, right? Okay. So yeah, you're a fantastic provider of your core business. That's undeniable. You're really good at what you do. But one of the ways you really, step out from others is that you dive into getting to know people. You care about them, you spend time with them, you follow up, you show that you are ingrained in what they're doing, you care about them as people. And really, I mean, what this boils down to is it's about a commitment to care and focus on people. And it's also just about taking the time. I mean, it's really a degree of selflessness, right? That
it really is.
I'm tired. I did this today. I've got this going on. Now it's X number of more phone calls or another meeting to show that I care. But that is the difference.
It is, man. And there's not enough hours in the day anymore, man. It's crazy how chaotic everything is in today's times. But it's juggling all that too, right? It's man, you could have the worst day going ever, and you get that phone call, and that energy is going to carry over maybe to that phone call, and that could be a phone call, that could be a deal. Man, there's so much that goes into it, and man, we could probably do an hour or 2 hour podcast on just relationships and relationship building and leadership and all those things you need to bring to the table to be successful, but it boils down to people and caring. And that's really the major outline of it,
Oh, amen. It makes
For
me think,
sure.
all right, so I've spent a lot of time in Dallas and a number of places all throughout the country. So, you, friends of mine in Dallas, you joke, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute, you can have all sorts of different seasons in a day, right?
Yeah.
And that's not really unlike our business. If you're having a bad day, just wait another hour, because it could very well turn around.
True.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, man, I invited you over to my house and you haven't been over yet, man.
Fine. Next time I'm in Dallas, I'm coming over. I got
a
close.
place for you to stay. I can make you eggs in the morning, dude. We'll keep it clean, bro.
Fine. I'm there. I want to go on your yacht. That's what I want to go.
Do not have a yacht. I have a pontoon boat and it's currently broken.
Well, I thought if you could take me out on your yacht with all your staff and we could go out in cruise. I'm kidding. No, I know you showed me pictures of pontoon boat. I have one too. And oh gosh, it's great.
They're fun, man. Yeah, they're fun. I just, boat stands for bust out another 1,000, man. It's every year, man. It's always something that needs to be fixed or replaced. And my goodness. So anyways, neither here or there. I want to get into the fun part about getting to know Cory with my this or that fun questions. It's my final round of questions for you on this lovely podcast. Have you listened or watched the show? You know what you're about to get into right now?
I do. I'm just happy you edit this. So now I know I can get out of it later if I want to, but go ahead. Fire it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right. So yes, sir. So I'm going to just, it's just fun, man. Right. This or that questions. And you got to pick one, man. All right. No in between stuff. Okay. This will allow our listeners to really get to know who Cory is. All right. I don't know if I can ask you this. You got, here, this is going to be good. Lose your hair or lose your sense of smell?
I think that ship sailed.
No, so you got hair. That's not true, man. I see all that hair up there, man.
I'll take hair.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I already got used to be involved. So I'll at least I can, smell something.
100 days in Antarctica or 100 days on the moon?
Oof. Antarctica.
All right. Like that, dude. No internet or no running water?
Ooh, internet.
No internet. I like that.
I guess that's maybe the practical part of me.
There you go.
I mean, 100 days without water?
I know, dude.
No running water, but still.
It's exactly.
Miserable. Yeah.
And all right. Magical strength or an invisibility cape?
Ooh. Strength.
There you go. Yep, vacation with your in-laws or your next door neighbor?
Oh gosh. Wait, I got a call coming in.
I love this one. Everyone makes me edit this one out. So if this ever makes the show, just know that, it's all for fun, man.
Vince, this is a very quick answer. Of course, I'd rather go on a vacation with my beloved in-laws.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. I can buy my.
Do you get along with your neighbors? Do you get along with your neighbors?
I do, but you can always buy them off with a beer later. So
there you go. Absolutely.
In-laws it is.
In-laws it is. Cool, man. Let's say cold drink or cold beer?
Oh, beer.
Yeah, we knew that answer already.
Of course, that's easy.
Ping pong or air hockey?
Oh, ping pong.
Well, there you go, man. Mountain retreat in the snow or hot, warm beach vacation?
Oh, hot, warm beach.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Are you poolside or beachside?
Yes.
No, you got to answer. Pick one. If you have to do one, beach or pool.
I mean, I love them both.
Yeah.
You don't get to do it enough, but
I know, man.
Yeah.
If I had to pick, I'm poolside, man. The sand is just, it's cool, but I can see the beach from the pool. How about that?
You know what's really cool is when you're in the pool and you can see the ocean.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Those are awesome.
Yeah.
That is, I love that, by the way.
Well, let's talk about this. I don't know. When's the last time we had that?
Man, I just did that for my 40th birthday this year, man.
Well, that's right. You went down to the Bahamas.
I went to Bahamas and they have a cool, this resort's awesome. SLS. Anyways, Bahama Mar, they have a big, long pool, infinity pool. And it literally there's a walkway, the sand, ocean, and you can see the ocean from the pool. Those are my favorite. The Cape in Cabo has a lot of places in Cabo have that too, but the Cape is one of my favorite hotels and it has the same thing.
Well, Vince, come on. As a general contractor, we're just working too much to be able to do a lot of that stuff.
Dude, I feel you. I feel you. All right, brother. My last question, man. Justin Timberlake or Justin Bieber?
Oh, geez. Where's your neither button? Yeah. Do you have a neither button?
No, man. You got to pick one. If you have to listen to one artist, man, and what artist is it going to be?
I guess I'll take I'll take Timberlake just to sure. Yeah.
You don't like JT?
It's okay. If someone knows me, there's not a fiddle in it. There's not a banjo. So
there you go. Not a fiddle and a banjo. Can you name one JT song?
No, I can't.
You cannot.
No, I can't. Now, see, you caught me. No, I can't. Do you want to talk old school country? Where's that podcast?
My old school country, man. I'm a Garth Brooks guy, man. I grew up all the old school country, but Garth Brooks has been my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's my favorite old school country. And he's not even old school, but when I was growing up, he was my favorite.
He's not old school, but it's amazing or depressing, maybe, to see younger people today talking about, oh yeah, that's an oldie. Or
oh, I know.
Oh, I know. Oh, God.
I mean, Friends in Low Places is a pretty old song.
And it's great about midnight, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of Miller Lights and you're singing it with your buddy, arm around him, doing your thing, man. Well, hey, man, that concludes our podcast, my friend. And I just want to thank you and for your time and thank Jameson again for sponsoring the show. And for all the listeners out there, thank you guys for continuing to support us. You can do better, by the way, man. Support us better. And then, share us on the LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. You guys can share the podcast. Listen to our podcast on your iPhone through the Apple Podcast app. Subscribe to our podcast on that, please. So you guys get all the notifications for all the new and latest, greatest podcast. And then you can even watch our lovely faces with the podcast on YouTube. And you can subscribe on YouTube by hitting that little red subscribe button. And Cory, man, I appreciate your time, my friend. And I'll hopefully see you soon, man.
Well, thanks, bud. It was good to talk to you. Please tell Jenna I said thank you. And you guys are just doing a great job. You really are. Thanks for having me here today.